with our next round of panelists, and the topic for the second panel is Reimagining Education, Role of EdTech in Creating Effective Learning Experiences. My colleague and ABP Live anchor Chahat Jain will moderate this discussion. So first I'll request Chahat to please join me on stage as I introduce the panelists for the second discussion one by one, beginning with Mr. Mukul Rustagi, CEO and co-founder Class Plus. Class Plus is an EdTech platform that enables educators, coaching institutes and tutors to manage their online and offline courses. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Mukul Rustagi? We also have the pleasure of welcoming on stage Mr. Varun Satya, founder and CEO, Craftshala. Craftshala is a professional skills development platform focused on marketing and business education. It offers industry-relevant courses, mentorship, and practical training to help students build job-ready skills in marketing and sales. And with that, I'm going to hand over the stage to Chahat.
Thank you so much, Preeti. What a lovely panel we have. And I can see the energy in the audience as well. Let me introduce my panelists, Mukul from Class Plus and Varun from Craftshala. The essence of the panel is very simple, making people job ready through technology. I think ये बहुत बड़ा एक, I would say it's not an issue, but yes, एक challenge ज़रूर है कि लोग पढ़ तो लेते हैं, but market में how employable they are, how skilled they are, that is very crucial. I'll start with Mukul. जो traditional learning थी, the entire education landscape has quickly evolved and changed into EdTech. You know, this is the actual hyped word, EdTech, it's everywhere. पिछले 5 से 7 साल के अंदर, and especially I think I would also say that pandemic also contributed a lot to it. How the entire landscape has changed.
Yeah, I think, so there are two parts to this. एक part है कि यार, what is the content that people want to learn, or actually, nobody wants to learn, people need to learn, let's say. So the first part is what's the content that people need to learn. And the second is the mode of delivery. And I think when we talk about EdTech, it's mostly about the mode of delivery that people take, right? And generally, most of the questions that I see around are whether it will be offline versus online. And the question is always, can online replace offline, right? To that, my counter is always that if like offline was so good, online would never be needed. So right. It is not A versus B kind of a debate, which is where I think 95% people get it wrong. As much as we can't imagine a kid's or an adult's life without a classroom, I don't think you can ever imagine your kid not going onto the YouTube and learning something. And it's not just about academic learning. I see a lot of moms learning dishes on YouTube, how to make new dishes, to where do you want to travel next, to how do you apply for jobs with a great CV.
Everything, everywhere.
Yeah, so I think it's, for a change like EdTech is not about class 1 to class 12th, right? It is about anything and everything you want to learn, right? And I don't know, like, if there are even like 5% people in this room who have not gone to YouTube over the last 1 year and searched something on how to do X, Y, Z. So I think everyone has gone, and like actually I can actually do a poll right now. How many people have gone to YouTube in the last 1 year and searched anything like how to travel, how to cook, how to pick stocks, probably, right? So
1 year is a very long time. You should say probably 12 hours.
Yeah, I just wanted to be safe. So I'll build on that, right? So the answer is there to see. So again, my one-line answer to this, it is not about versus. It is not about or, it is actually about and. Right. And the moment you start looking at it from that lens, I think most of the debates are actually solved.
Right. Coming to you.
So I think that we've tried to be very user-centric in everything we do. Eventually, people, when they're graduating out of a college, they want a job. Right. They don't care whether you're studying online or offline.
Right.
They care for, is the best person teaching me? Is this what is the chances that I'm going to get a great job out of it? What is the cost I'm going to pay for it? And what is the record of success that has been there in the past?
Varun, but you being an expert, आप तो market में देखते हैं. मतलब, do you see that gap that needs to be bridged कि हाँ, required skills, right skills के बिना लोग जॉब रेडी नहीं है, या कितनी हमारी, यू नो द फिगर्स राइट, इंडिया में, इंडिया हैज़ द मोस्ट नंबर ऑफ यंग पॉपुलेशन, इट इज़ यंगेस्ट कंट्री, यूथ इतनी है, बट स्किल्ड यूथ नहीं है. सो
Yeah.
how EdTech is actually contributing to it?
Skilled youth nahi hai, and I'll give you two contrasting figures, both from this month. This month, The Economist and Wall Street Journal both reported a slowdown in MBA placements of Ivy colleges.
Okay.
So Harvard graduates and Sloan School of Management graduates are struggling to get placed. That's one data point. The other data point is, in this month, we have placed 3 people who don't have a college degree.
Okay, is that possible?
This month. I'm not talking
Okay.
about, the last 3 years. I'm saying this month.
Right.
Now, the point here is that essentially for any organization, they want to hire the best talent. They don't care for whether this person has an IIT IIM degree or not. Now, IIT IIM degree is great to get, don't get me wrong, but that's not the only way to have success. What people care for is skills. To build those skills, you need to solve for the main challenges that the students are having. So we get students who've spent 15 years in the educational system who have only learned how to learn by rote. When you ask them, have you learned this concept? They will honestly say yes. And then they will memorize it and repeat it like a parrot. That level of information hoarding is not useful. Right? Because what is needed, as the previous panelist was also talking about, is problem solving. So if you train them how to solve on problems, if you can find a way to unpack it and say that, okay, this is not learning, let's try and solve this problem together. They'll do a very bad job initially. The next time, they'll do a little bit better. The next time, they'll do a little bit better. By the time that the company is interviewing them, they'll do much better. And so the company doesn't care, okay, what is this person's background and CV and all of that. They can solve a problem. So they'll hire them. It's very simple.
Mukul, in your first, go ahead. अपने first question में you just mentioned कि it's not versus. That had to be my second question actually. Books versus tabs, because एक तरफ तो parents and we maybe we'll call it ourselves parents and teachers everything. हम कहते हैं कि ठीक है, हमारी generation को, हमारी जो next generation है, उनको everything they need to be edgy. Okay, it's not just कि आपको you know the basics of everything. You need to have that extra edge to actually stay relevant in the market when you actually hit the ground zero. So you have to have that edge, जो पहले की traditional learning में नहीं होती थी. How these EdTech companies are actually providing that edge?
So I'll have a little controversial opinion on that. While, again, if you break a book, it is about 2 things. It is about the content in the book, and then it's about the delivery using paper, right? I think I'm not against, I personally love paper. I think it's a very distraction-free method of learning. It has a great efficacy. It has a great, how do I say, it's just more practical and more sincere way of learning. But what does not change in books is essentially what needs to be learned today. Like if you read a book which tells you how to code today, that book is essential, right? And even if you use a tab which tells you how did you need to code 50 years back, even that tab is useless. So I think the place where digital devices win hands down over old stuff like books and all is because the content can be reiterated to multiple formats, multiple languages with multiple iterations in multiple formats at multiple price points. Though that stuff essentially cannot be replicated with physical infra. Like if I actually, like tomorrow, let's say GPT came, right? And people want to learn how to use GPT. Like if somebody had to write a book on how to use GPT, they would have probably taken 3 months to write it, another 3 months to publish it, another 3 months to distribute it. And then 3 months for it to basically get penetrated into the audience, right? Into the entire demography of the country. That would be 12 months. By that time, GPT would have released 2 more versions, and that the first version would have run useless. Now what people do is, like, there would be a few, how do I say, tech experts or influencers who will probably make a 35-40 minute video. They will put it on YouTube or Insta, wherever, and suddenly you will see like 10 million people over the next 2 months probably. And I'm saying a very conservative number.
And they have made money out of it also.
Yeah, and they make money out of it. Yeah, they make money out of it. But more importantly, those 10 million people actually know how to use GPT, and they save that to 10 months of their journey. Now, if you are a parent, like that is what my question to everybody, again, who has a debate is, Would you want your kid to learn something 12 months after it has been there in the market and has now gone outdated? Or would you want him or her to learn it as soon as it is out there in the market so that they can apply it? If you say that you want your kid to learn 12 months after everybody else, great. Traditional methods are absolutely the best for you. Nobody can help you. But if you want yourself or your kid to be absolutely updated, you can't put them out of digital devices. What's more important is what are they using that digital devices for? On that same tablet, Angry Birds ka bhi game hai. On that same tablet, there is YouTube also. And on YouTube also, there is multiple things that they can do, right? So it is about how do you use the tool versus is the tool good or bad?
He just mentioned GPT. Varun, coming back to you, बहुत लोग ऐसे भी कहते हैं कि okay fine, AI एक time के बाद हमारी नौकरी खा जाएगा, it will just replace us humans. Do you actually see that coming? Or forget that, okay? Also, how are you preparing your students? How are you preparing your team to actually be friends with AI and do better? Why do you have to compete with AI? You can just be friends and do better.
Yeah, it's a fun way of putting it. I think that AI is killing a lot of jobs,
Right.
and AI is killing the jobs that probably should be killed. So if you go to any job platform, let's say go to Naukri.com, search in digital marketing, you'll find for freshers 40,000 jobs available in India right now. I'm saying this number has been true broadly for the last 6 months. Now, most of those jobs are not really marketing jobs. They are what we call admin jobs because the work you're doing is repetitive. It's like a machine tool. Somebody else has designed the machine. You're just being told this is the manual for the machine, operate it in this fashion. AI is very good at that. So those jobs are under threat. They will gradually go away. You can argue the timeline, but they're on their way out. What is needed is somebody to go ahead and figure out what the machine can't solve on its own. So classically, we call it problem solving. And that's the fun part about it, that the more AI comes in, actually you're going back to the roots. Problem solving is not a new term, right? We learned it, I don't know, like 15 years ago when I was in B school, and that B school curriculum has been the same for the last 15 years. So at least for the last 30 years, we were talking problem solving. So it's the same problem solving. And the way ChatGPT and all these AI tools really help in is for you to think about what is the fastest way for me to get to this solution. So if I wanted to, let's say, design a campaign today, I can do it much faster using an AI because I can use AI as a thought partner. I can brainstorm with it. I can show them my ideas. I can ask them what are my competitors doing. I can use Perplexity to get very good information on what is happening most recently. So I can do all of those things, but eventually I still have to connect my solution to the problem of the user. So the way we teach and the way everybody really has to teach is, this is problem solving. This doesn't change. No matter what technology is going to come in, this is the core framework. But every month you have to change what is the framework that you're going to use or what is the toolkit you're going to use. So we run a new batch every 5 weeks. We've run 30 batches. Not a single batch has had the same curriculum. So we've had 30 curriculums till date. And the reason is this, because the new technologies keep coming in and you keep fitting it in the problem solving frameworks. And that is how you also ask students to learn it as well. This is the problem solving framework. We're using this tool to teach you this because this is most needed in the industry. Tomorrow the tool changes, something else comes up, you replace the tool, but you don't replace the basic framework.
It will make people more relevant, right? At that particular point of time.
I'll actually add on to that, like 45, 50 years back when calculators were invented, American schools started banning calculators because they said that the kids would go dumb. If I ask right now what is 25 into 60, 80% of the people in the room will instantly put out their calculator. And that is right, because you don't need to remember what 25 into 60 is. Like, that is not the most important value addition in your life today. And that happens not just in this, but across all industries. Take sports people for an example. Every generation of cricketers actually perform better than the prior ones because they've better equipment, they have better fitness, they have better nutrition, they have better physios. And any cricketer, let's say, who's not using that, God forsaken how talented they might be, they will never be able to be the best in the world because somebody at their same talent, leveraging those new tools, is essentially going to outlast them in the long run. My point is like technology is a great enabler.
Right.
While people say that there are a lot of jobs which have gone via this, uh, I can tell you there are equal number of people who have actually now doubled or tripled their productivity and at
Right.
2x CTCs. And we run a company with like 1,000+ people, so we know that there are some people. Like there is an, I'll just give an idea. I come from IIT Roorkee, and there was an intern that we hired who graduated 2 years back. He was an intern. He was not even able to speak very properly at that point. Obviously, yaar, matlab, he's a 21-year-old, 22-year-old guy, very nervous. Uh, the only thing he does at Class Plus is actually lead all our AI initiatives. He has probably made 4 autonomous different platforms today. He's a 24-year-old guy. He has made 4 autonomous platforms today. There's an entire website which drives almost like 100,000 of monthly traffic. It's all basically done by him. There are 0 number of people behind it. And this guy at the age of 24 has become the lead guy in the company for anything and everything AI. Like the founders, if we have to go to anybody, we would rather go to this 24-year-old guy and see ki yaar, like he's the one who will be doing everything AI in ClassPlus will actually be, most of it will actually be done by this guy in itself. So while people will say that there is a 30-year-old guy or 35-year-old guy who has lost his job, I will put this 24 guy in front of everybody and say his CTC has gone 4x since he joined in 2 years. Like he's the fastest growing stock that I know in my life, right? And he's doing at 24 what people can't imagine in 35, right? So I think it's a great leverage ultimately. And I think the only people who hate technology are the ones who don't know how to use it.
Right.
For everybody who knows how to use it, they absolutely love it.
They're friends with
So,
it.
Yeah, they're friends with that actually.
Right. But EdTech ke saath, there's also a debate, ongoing debate. I don't think that will ever end. People think that EdTech jo hai, if you see the education inflation, which is about 13 to 15% year on year. So EdTech is actually beating schools and they're also beating the inflation. So schools will always be versus with the EdTech companies. But EdTech is also making education more affordable and accessible to all. Because India ki agar aap demography dekhoge, it's a huge country.
I'll again give you some start over it. So at ClassPlus, what we essentially do is that a lot of creators and influencers you see, jo apna, let's say they run courses or right from digital marketing to photography to UPSC to probably IIT to farming to anything. Right. Like everybody knows enough creators who basically launch their courses. Most of them basically use ClassPlus as a technology behind it. Like every year we see around 1 crore courses being sold across all these creators, which is like 1% of India's internet population. More than 80-85% of those courses are bought by people who are in tier 2 and tier 3 places.
Right.
70% plus of these courses are actually priced less than $12, which is $1,000, like 1,000 rupees. And 30 to 35% of these courses are actually not about academics like UPSC, JEE or probably school tuitions. They're actually about skill sets. Right from literacy to spoken English to farming to yoga to photography to personality development to meditation to whatever else you can imagine, right? And like imagine like 70% of these courses, like 70 lakhs of these courses are actually less than 1,000 rupees in nature, right? If there is any alternate way for somebody sitting in a tier 3 pin code in India to learn how to have or how to prepare for, let's say, interviews within $1,000 in the vicinity of this home, I think the solution would not have been needed. So when we talk about the tech part of it, the access part of it, it's very, very privileged. We're sitting in a tier 1 city and we have options. One, we have money so that education becomes affordable to us. Second, we have options in our vicinity so that it's very accessible to us. Like go to a tier 3 city or tier 4 town in India and you will find that most people are actually either devoid of access or for some financial constraint.
The challenge actually exists there.
Yeah,
not
those
here.
are the people, उनके पास ना online versus offline का है नहीं, उनके पास online ही है. And that is the audience that came into the periphery. They came into the consideration post-COVID.
Right.
Like before COVID, those, and they could be anywhere from a kid to a household lady. Right. Like for example, one of our creators actually teaches housewives on how to set up their digital stores on Meesho and Amazon. And it's a great profession. Like, it's one of the largest professions in India that has emerged over half a decade, right? For those housewives, this was the only place where they could probably learn how to set up their shop on Meesho within, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 bucks. So while we might have the luxury and we might look at it from a very comfortable lens, the real India is
Actual picture
actually
comes
come
from
into
tier
consideration
3.
because of this entire
Right.
wave that has happened the last 5 years.
Varun, I think you
Yeah.
would want to say something on
Yeah,
this,
I'll
right?
just-
Courses.
I'll just put this very simply. EdTech is the solution to cost.
Hmm.
Okay? Because it is just foundationally cheaper to learn online. The problem is online effectiveness has been a challenge in the past. So let's put this under a contrast of what we offer. Okay?
Right.
Student takes up our digital marketing course, 1.3 lakh rupees. Average salaries are 5 lakh rupees. So that's 4x. Any student that you ask, is 4x good? They'll take it in a heartbeat, right? So our average household income of a typical Craftshala student is 10 lakh rupees. 5 people are operating on 10 lakh rupees of household,
Right.
all expensive. They take 1.5 lakh almost of that money and put it in that. And they're very happy with that. The sales program that we run it, you spend 2 lakhs, you get a average job of 10 lakh rupees, right? So that's about 5x. Now, that is how you bring down cost. You don't bring
Right.
it down by wishing away. Inflation is going to happen everywhere. You bring it by better ideas. And so what you have to solve for is, if you're teaching online and you're teaching for an audience that cannot buy a product at 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, but they still want the same output, the same outcomes, how do you solve for that? So EdTech is the solution, and I'd say that there's going to be a lot of those solutions coming in over the years.
For you, I would also want to talk about the placement industry. India ki jo placement industry, do you see any challenge over there? Is there anything that needs to be bridged or something?
I think the one common thing that higher educationists all over the country will agree is that placements are messed up. Okay? There is
I think even the audience
absolute
would agree to it, right?
Unanimity on that idea that placements are messed up.
Messed up in what sense?
Now, that is where the unanimity ends, right?
Yes.
So let's understand this. Students, the basic issue of a higher education institution is students don't care about learning, they care about jobs. They're not coming to the classroom because they think this will not help them get a job.
Naukri chahiye bas.
Naukri
Baat
chahiye,
khatam.
naukri chahiye. Now, the point here is you can argue it in both ways. You can say, yes, they are deviating because the course was meant to land them a job. But the reality is that no matter what you learn in a classroom, what you're going to learn on that first job is going to be enormous. So take that intern example. That intern from IIT Roorkee could not have learned what he learned in an IIT Roorkee. It doesn't matter. IIT could be anything. They could not have learned, they couldn't have seen the problems that they learned on the job. So our view on this is the number one goal of higher education institution is to land them in a high potential job role. Because only if they go to a class plus will they get the problems and the support to solve it. Only if they support it will their salary rise 4x. So if you don't solve for that issue, then the rest of it doesn't matter. Therefore, the students are right to worry about the jobs in the first place.
Right.
That is our point of view. The second piece is that companies don't have the time to train. They never will have it. And so what they have become they've always been open-minded on this. We will train to a certain extent. Just make sure that the students are driven and have the basic aptitude. That is what you need to solve for, right? And
What
so,
they call it good English, good communication skills,
Good English,
presentable. This is what the industry needs, right?
This
This
is
is
what
what
the
people
industry-
think the industry needs.
Yeah.
Actually, it's way more deeper.
yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, so they need problem solving, they need English, but they need most of all an intent to want to add value. See,
Right.
most people don't understand this, that in our education system, first you have to, in 11th, you have to take between science, arts, whatever. You don't know anything about what you're going to do, still you take it. Then you go to college, you take...
None of us knew. I think
None of
people
us
would
knew.
agree or not agree. None of us knew. We did
Right.
not even know if we have to take maths or not to take maths or whatever.
Correct, right? And then people reach default undergraduate stream. So engineering is big. Let's take engineering. So 80% janta in engineering. You are not smart. You take XYZ. You are smart. You take Y. Right? And people are not really aware, and it's almost impossible to change course at that point without substantial costs. Right? So now these students then reach the industry, and then they realize, oh, actually, you know, this JP Morgan back-end job that I thought was great, actually, I'm not
Yes.
enjoying this at all. And as a recruiter, they are going to feel that, look, I am training you, I am
Right.
investing in you, but if in 6 months or 9 months you're going to leave the job, then that doesn't help me, right? So the biggest value add that you can bring to recruiters is the likelihood of a student being high intent and then having these pieces so that the chances of success are very high.
Right.
And then that goes back to you wanting to give a lot of information to your students so that they make the right choices,
Right.
which is good for everybody. But it's a journey, and that's where most people, I think, struggle.
Right. Mukul, you want to say something on it?
I think so. So I have a firm belief that you cannot ever learn a sport without playing it. So my point is that if you want to learn swimming, for example, you'll have to go and swim. Immaterial, however many books you read, how many videos you watch. And that is why I personally am a big proponent. So any young kid that I meet, I'm like, immaterial which college you come from. It doesn't matter actually which college you come from, at least now. Obviously, yes, the top 1% has a slight delta, but I'm telling you that delta is not a delta, it's a head start. It's like somebody running 100-meter race probably 5 meters ahead of you. You still have a very decent chance to catch up or probably even do better, right? So I think any young kid that I would meet today, I would just say that just go and do as many industry immersions you can do. If you get paid for it, great. Like there's nothing, because there's no bigger validation. And when people say that kids come to colleges to earn, they are paying a cost to it, right? Then, and we're not a very rich country that people put, and even the cost is not very cheap that people will just do it for the fun of it, right? So when people are spending money, obviously they are liable to look at it from an ROI point of view, and they would at the end of it evaluate that how much did we put, and did that transcend our life from a, did it help us escape our current trajectory? If we are low middle class, can we go to middle class? If we are middle class, can we go to the upper class, right? And obviously it's a financial decision because education is not cheap.
Right.
Had it been absolutely minimal, I would have fought the battle that yes, it should be a interest-based choice. But since it is not, people are bound to take it, look at from a financial lens of point. So that is absolutely right. But more importantly, I think the only way for somebody to be actually very sharp on what the industry needs is to have as much time, exposure, and stints in the industry itself.
Right.
You cannot take them far from the playground and yet expect them to be a great player. And I think that is what I advocate. Like, if institutions can do it, supremely great. But nonetheless, the kids should actually try and do it as much as they can from their own end. And that is where like something like a social media compared to 10 years back plays a lot of role, because 20 years back, probably recruiters would only come to very finite campuses or places in the country because they were the only ones with the infra brand name and the peer network. But today that does not happen.
That's
Like
right.
people can reach out to whoever they want in the world, have enough ways to show them their work or show them their intent, and basically grab an opportunity. And again, like for people who fight against technology, social media is again a technological product, so let's be thankful to it.
Mukul and Varun, we have our audience. It's a blend of parents, educational institutes. First, we would like to take questions from the parents' point of view. If there are any parents sitting and they actually have a question for both our speakers. Do we have, okay, I can see one hand over there. Can we have mic for the lady?
Good afternoon. These days, teenagers are very much into, making their online branding, and they think that that would going to contribute to write certain kind of SOPs and would going to be a landmark for them to get into certain kind of universities. Do you think this kind of practices actually helps the teenagers?
One of my favorite questions actually.
Yes.
I love when
and
kids do
yesterday
that.
only it happened with my daughter.
I
She
love
was
when
into
kids
that.
do it, because these are the
Yes.
kids who will be better CMOs than most of these CMOs that we'll ever see in the country. If they can create their own brand when they have absolutely zero knowledge, zero resources, zero money, and a lot of pressure to like or do a lot of other things in life. Imagine the kind of brands they will go and create if they are good at it and they go into the same profession half a decade down the line. These guys, like people who, like kids who can create their own brands organically in the right manner, I think they will be the greatest CMOs this country has ever seen. So I love when people do it, like kids do it, right? Absolutely, and a lot of them will make way more money than they would do in their jobs.
Varun, do you have to say something on it?
Yeah, I'd just like to, one, I agree with the point. I'd like to build on that should not be an encouragement for kids to necessarily, go on social, right? Because maybe they don't want to become a CMO, right? The biggest differentiator in the industry is always the fact that does this person, whatever they're working on, do they have the capacity to not bring an exam mindset, but a in-depth project mindset? So if they don't want to build a social media channel, but they just want to, I don't know, dance or code or whatever it is that they want to do, I think encouragement in any domain and trying to build depth in any domain is great. But if from their heart, because their friends are doing it, it doesn't matter. The reasons are always superficial. But if they want to build a social media presence, then it will be great to build it as well and as best as you can, because they'll learn things that they'll otherwise not be able to learn in a book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other question that we have?
Past, we are following the British education system. And British education system, you have importance of pass and fail. मुन्ना पास हो गया लेकिन मुन्ना अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस नहीं कर पा रहा है, और लड़के पास फेल के होर में कुछ नहीं सीख पाते, because they don't learn anything. They are talking about marks and all that. So what I suggest, like 50% of Janta is doing BA Humanities, Bachelor of Arts. And if they don't get government job, they don't have anything. They don't have anything. And this generation is a tech-savvy generation. They are digital. They are very commercial also at the same time. वो अगर पैर भी छूते हैं तो अंकल का मोबाइल का मॉडल देख के छूते हैं कि अंकल के पास पैसे हैं कि नहीं. So we have to change ourselves accordingly. Our education system should have vocational, as much as vocational courses like this, what you are talking about. Why one CMO? Why not a lot of CMO? And there should be a competition among CMO. Who is the best CMO? So we should start teaching extracurricular activities as well as vocational education right from the school level. And we should not concentrate more on pass, fail, because we are 140 crore people. We have to realize that. And EdTech, we cannot ignore them, because it is just like you are standing against the winds. You cannot stand against the winds for so many hours or so many years. You have to take into consideration. Ultimately, market forces will decide what they are going to do. So slowly and slowly, this is what will happen if we don't follow this. Our educational institutions will be lying vacant. Right. We should have a blend of this. We should have offline as well as online. Both the teaching should be there, and hybrid should be encouraged.
Do you?
Right?
I think, and sir, to respond to your question, I think the change is coming. We have the new education policy, of course, which focuses on the vocational courses right from the beginning. I think we have the last question over there with the lady.
Thank you very much. It's not a question. I just like to share my experience about.
Okay, there are two people standing at this.
One thing that I want to inculcate here also.
Let sir take this chance. नहीं तो आ जाएगा ladies first.
No, good.
I don't want that. Okay.
Both the speakers are really talented, but the things which I have already found here, both are not concluding the things which require here also.
He wants a conclusion.
Until and unless you go for the physical significance of educational institutions or educational content, I hope that it will not solve the problem whether so many education policy may be found here also. So physical significance of educational content is required. This is the only solution for the job creation for the students and for the youngsters also.
Thank you so much, sir.
One example in this regard I would like to tell you. Suppose you have already learned so many things, a plus b whole square, a square plus 2ab plus b square. What is the physical significance of this? Anybody can tell me?
Oh.
Nobody can tell me. Because nobody knows about the physical significance of this equation till the date also. So this thing has to be inculcated, that the physical significance of educational content is required. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And I'm just sharing my experience, and the journey is a little bit, it is not related to my profile. I am Dr. Sarita Sindhu, and I'm working as a principal in a school which is in remote India, or we can say marginalized areas. And the student belong to me is farmer background students. And the journey started in 2016 when I got approach from Space Cookies, which is a scout unit of NASA, and they do worldwide robotics education. And I started one club in my school. and later on the transformation of that club converted into an organization which is Bharat AI Labs Foundation, and I am the strategical mentor of that organization. And the proud feel which I am getting right now is that Bharat AI Labs Foundation is right now giving robotics and AI based digital learning to the remote India schools. Those are not digitally sound. The teachers are not literate in because even they don't know how to use computer labs properly in classrooms. And right now 2,000 students are studying robotics free of cost with the help of Bharat AI Lab Foundation. And the proud moment is that the student from remote India is up to the level of World Robotic Olympiad, which is international platform. And why it is happening? Because of this, because we were getting mentor from USA, and
That's
after
great.
getting this digital, you can say the transformation in remote
Right.
India, now the teachers are efficient enough. So thank you very much. Just
So
to
this
share
is the
this,
power of EdTech actually that
this
we
is
were
the
going to
power of
say.
that. And
This is
I'm-
so cool. Can we have a round for the ma'am?
Thank you. And why
you
I
so
was
much.
telling, I am not the person who is digitally skilled earlier.
Right.
I took this initiative, and even the challenge was a little bit different for us because the students were not getting the language of USA mentors. So we
Right.
were having one translator in the mid.
That is the power of technology.
So the
we were actually
transformation is
discussing
because
about.
of
Thank
because of the technology. So thank you very much.
so much. And here, since we are running short of time, whosoever from the audience has questions, they can take up the questions with our guest, probably outside. And I would just want to thank you, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, audience, for such an interesting questions.
For another wonderful session, can we please request Mr. Sunil Goswami, Head of Videos, ABP Live, to kindly come up on stage and felicitate our speakers for this session, Mr. Mukul Rustagi and Mr. Varun Satya. I can understand that the audience is still having a lot of questions, but maybe you can use the lunch time to have interaction outside the hall to take up your questions with our speakers. And I do urge you to please stick around so that a lot of members of the audience can take their questions. Can we have a round of applause here, please? Thank you so much.